Chapter 6. The air inside the crypt was unnaturally cold, the oppressive silence broken only by the sound of nervous breaths. Mallory, Harper, and Jade stood in the front of the dimly lit chamber, each frozen in place as a faint, whispered laugh echoed around them. It was an unnatural sound, like the wind carrying something sinister. Mallory shivered, wrapping her arms around herself. Did anyone else hear that? Her voice wavered. Yeah, Harper whispered, her eyes darting around the crypt. Loud and clear. Jade, usually the voice of reason, appeared shaken. What was that? Nearby, the guys stood in a tight group. Asher's jaw clenched, while Lachlan's normally confident demeanor faltered. Elias frowned, his sharp gaze scanning the dark corners of the room. It didn't sound human. Elias muttered, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. Lachlan took a steadying breath. Whatever it was, I don't think it wants us here. Asher straightened his shoulders, his voice calm but firm. Stay calm. We've faced strange things before. Back at the girls' side of the crypt, Harper's expression hardened. Yeah, but nothing like this, she said, her voice edged with fear. As if summoned by their unease, a faint glow appeared in the center of the room. The group collectively froze as a soft, pulsating orb of light materialized out of nowhere. It hovered midair, casting an unearthly glow that painted the walls in faint, shifting patterns. What is that? Jade asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Asher stepped closer, his expression wary but intrigued. I don't know, but it feels alive. Lachlan shot him a doubtful glance. Do we touch it? Elias let out a nervous laugh. Oh great. Because glowing orbs always lead to good things. Asher couldn't help but crack a smile. Sarcasm isn't helping, Elias. Mallory took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the orb. Maybe it's a sign. Jade raised an eyebrow. A sign for what? To trust ourselves, Mallory replied softly. To move forward even when it's scary. The group watched in stunned silence as the orb suddenly shot upward, expanding into a brilliant flash of light before disappearing completely. The room plunged back into darkness, the oppressive silence returning like a heavy weight. Whatever it was, it's gone now, Asher said, his voice steady. But that doesn't mean we're safe. Elias glanced around warily. We should leave. Come back with a plan. Mallory nodded, her voice resolute despite her fear. Agreed. Let's regroup and figure out our next move. With cautious steps, the group turned and left the crypt, their minds buzzing with more questions than answers. The oppressive silence of the crypt lingered in their thoughts, a reminder of the unsettling mysteries they had yet to uncover. The campus quad felt unnaturally still, its usual charm replaced by an eerie, oppressive silence. The lights were off, and the only sounds were the faint dripping of unseen water from the distant campus garden and the rustle of leaves stirred by a cold wind. Mallory stood at the center of the deserted space, her arms crossed, eyes scanning their surroundings. Harper was on her left, arms folded in quiet contemplation, while Jade stood to her right, her gaze darting nervously around the area. What do we do now? Harper asked, breaking the silence. Her voice, though steady, carried an edge of uncertainty. Mallory shifted her weight, her expression thoughtful. We ask for help, she replied firmly. Someone out there knows what's happening, and we can't do this alone. Asher, Lachlan, and Elias stood huddled together next to the girls, their forms silhouetted against the faint glow of distant streetlights. Asher leaned against a tree, arms crossed with a calm demeanor. Lachlan stood at the center, his face illuminated by a confident smile, while Elias rubbed his chin, deep in thought. Smart move, Lachlan said, his voice carrying a reassuring warmth. Survival mindset can only take us so far. We need an abundance mindset now. The girls exchanged glances. Harper gave a sidelong glance at Mallory before crossing her arms again, while Jade spoke up with a hint of encouragement. "And we need to take care of ourselves," Jade said gently. "Whatever this is, it's draining." Asher chuckled, flashing a charming smile as he responded, spoken like someone who knows the importance of self-care. Lachlan laughed softly at Asher's comment, while Elias remained quiet, his posture relaxed but his eyes sharp. Harper laughed lightly at the exchange, easing some of the tension. "All right," she said, turning back to Mallory. "So what's the plan for tonight?" Mallory rubbed her chin thoughtfully before answering with a small, determined smile. "Rest. Recharge. And tomorrow we start again." The night air felt heavier as the group began to disperse. The girls walked together, their steps synchronized as they moved toward the dorms. Despite the weight of the unknown pressing on them, a flicker of hope lingered in their hearts. The wind picked up, its chill biting against their skin. As they disappeared into the darkness, the shadows around the hidden crypt stirred. A figure, indistinct but menacing, lingered in the doorway, watching silently before fading back into the night. The unease remained, but the promise of a new day fueled their resolve. The soft glow of the pastel-pink walls in Mallory's dorm room offered little comfort against the tense atmosphere that hung over the group. The room, usually a sanctuary, felt claustrophobic as the friends gathered to regroup before heading to their own dorms for the night. Mallory stood at the center, her posture tense as she exhaled deeply. Harper to her left, arms crossed, her expression carefully guarded. Asher lingered near the window, his gaze flicking between them, his stance relaxed but his eyes betraying unease. "All right," Mallory began, her voice steady despite the weight of their discoveries. "Let's recap. We know the book is missing. Someone or something has been in that hidden place since we last visited." Harper frowned, the doubt clear in her tone as she spoke. "And there's that glowing orb. It might have been a warning," Asher said softly, his usual confidence subdued. "Or a clue." In the adjacent dorm room, Jade, Lachlan, and Elias held their own hushed discussion. Jade stood at the center, her expression pensive, while Lachlan rubbed his chin in thought. Elias, standing near the door, shivered as if a chill had seeped into the room. "A clue to what?" Elias snapped, his voice sharp with frustration. "That we're all sitting ducks?" "No," Lachlan replied, his tone calm but resolute. "It's something more. We've stumbled onto something bigger than we realize." Jade's somber silence mirrored the growing tension among the group. Mallory glanced between Harper and Asher, her voice softer now but no less determined. "Whatever it is, we can't ignore it. But we also can't let it consume us. Progress, not perfection, right?" Harper tilted her head, considering. "So, what's the next step?" "Tomorrow," Mallory said after a brief pause, her expression thoughtful. "We split up. Look for clues, talk to anyone who might know about the book or the hidden place." Jade's voice quivered as she asked, "And tonight?" Lachlan smiled faintly, his steady demeanor offering a measure of reassurance. "Like we said earlier, tonight we rest. Recharge. We can't fight this battle running on empty." Mallory's voice carried a finality that underscored her quiet resolve. "Together," she said simply. The room fell into a contemplative silence as the group exchanged glances, the unspoken bond between them solidifying in the face of the unknown. As they prepared to part ways, the tension lingered, but so did a shared determination. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. The glow of the dorm lights dimmed as they each retreated for the night, their thoughts heavy with questions and possibilities. The dorm hallway bustled with faint echoes of student chatter, though Harper barely noticed as she was on her way to her dorm. Lachlan stood a few feet away, arms crossed, a familiar smirk tugging at his lips. "So, Harper," Lachlan began, his voice teasing, "since we're officially off duty, how about I be your distraction again?" Harper laughed softly, rolling her eyes. "Distraction from what?" "My clearly thrilling life." Exactly. Lachlan chuckled, his charm effortless. Let's grab some coffee and food before you talk yourself out of it. All right, Harper conceded with a playful wink, but only because I'm hungry. Lachlan grinned, triumph lighting his expression. Keep telling yourself that, Harper. Her laugh lingered in the air as the two made their way outside. The crisp night air enveloped them as they strolled through the quiet campus gardens, the moonlight casting a silver sheen over the pathways. Harper's boots scuffed lightly against the gravel as she fell into an easy rhythm beside Lachlan. This place isn't half bad at night, Lachlan mused, glancing around at the still beauty of the garden. Almost as charming as me. Harper shot him a dry look. Almost. But let's not exaggerate. He laughed, the sound warm and genuine. Admit it, I'm growing on you. Like a persistent weed, she quipped, unable to suppress her smile. I'll take it, Lachlan said, his grin widening. They found a bench nestled under an arching tree and sat down, the night unfolding around them in a comfortable silence. Lachlan leaned back, tilting his head slightly. So, remember when you said I was an improvement over your ex? Harper raised an eyebrow, laughing. Are you fishing for compliments now? Not fishing, he said with mock indignation. Just curious. Was it because she wasn't as good-looking and charming as me? Harper's expression softened, her smile fading slightly. No, it's not about looks. She paused, her tone turning introspective. She was actually the first person I liked who was a girl. That's when I realized I like people for who they are, not their gender. Lachlan's posture shifted, leaning slightly forward. What happened? At first, it was amazing. Romantic, exciting. Harper's voice was tinged with nostalgia, but it quickly darkened. But she became a controlling, possessive. I didn't feel like myself anymore, and the breakup wasn't great. Lachlan's gaze was steady, his tone light yet sincere. Well, she clearly didn't know how to appreciate someone as incredible as you. Harper chuckled, the heaviness in her expression lifting. You're laying it on thick tonight. Just telling the truth, Lachlan replied, his grin laced with genuine warmth. Harper met his eyes briefly, his sincerity catching her off guard. She cleared her throat, brushing it off with a playful grin. What about you? Any dramatic ex stories? Lachlan laughed. Nothing dramatic. I've been on dates, but I haven't found girl I'd want a long-term relationship with. Let me guess, Harper teased. You're just going with the flow? He shrugged, his smirk returning. Exactly. Maybe the right woman for me will just appear one day. Harper met Lachlan's gaze, but before she got lost in his dark eyes. Come on. Let's get that coffee before you start getting sentimental on me. Lachlan stood, laughing as he followed her. The night unfolded with easy banter, laughter, and the kind of connection that lingered in quiet glances and stolen smiles. Beneath the moonlit sky, the air hummed with a possibility neither dared to name just yet. Mallory's dorm room was bathed in soft pastel hues, the faint glow of the desk lamp adding to the serene atmosphere of the night. The quiet hum of late-night studying filled the air, a comforting rhythm shared between Mallory and Asher as they sat side by side. Both were immersed in their open textbooks, their focus unwavering but companionable. Mallory shifted, breaking the silence. She closed her book with a soft thud, letting out an exaggerated sigh. 2 hours of equations and theories, and my brain officially hates me. Asher glanced up from his book, chuckling. That's the price of being a second-year genius, he teased, a playful smirk tugging at his lips. Mallory laughed, shaking her head. If I'm a genius, then why did I miss 3 questions in a row earlier? You're just keeping me humble, he replied, his tone light but his eyes warm. Mallory leaned back in her chair, her gaze drifting toward the window. The soft glow of the campus lights against the dark night sky seemed to mirror her contemplative mood. You know, she began, her voice quieter now. It's wild how close we've gotten. Especially with everything going on. It's like we skipped the small talk and dove into something deeper. Asher set his book aside, leaning slightly forward. I feel that too, he admitted. Maybe it's the adrenaline or the mystery, Mallory mused, her eyes still fixed on the world outside. But honestly, I think it's more than that. It is more, Asher said, his voice softening. Mallory turned to face him, caught off guard by the earnest expression on his face. Asher hesitated for a moment, his usual composure giving way to vulnerability. My whole life, I've been the golden boy, he began, his tone introspective. The guy everyone expects to have it all together. But it always felt like something was missing. Like I was just going through the motions. He looked down, the flicker of vulnerability deepening. Then, that night, when I saw you on the first day back, everything shifted. I've never wanted to protect someone so fiercely. Mallory felt her breath catch as Asher continued, his voice steadier now. It's not that I wouldn't protect the others. But with you, I wanted you in my arms, shielded from everything. I've never felt like that with anyone before. Asher, she whispered, his words lingering in the air between them, warm and heavy with meaning. Mallory shifted herself on the sofa to be closer to him, the small distance between them vanishing. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I don't know why or how, but being with you feels right. Like it was meant to be, he agreed, his voice carrying a quiet certainty. A soft laugh escaped her, and she met his gaze, her smile tender. Asher reached out, his hand brushing hers lightly. The simple touch carried more weight than any words could, their connection deepening in that unspoken moment. The silence between them stretched, comfortable and intimate, as they held each other's gaze. Mallory's lips curved into a soft smile. Maybe we don't need to understand it. Or question it, Asher replied, his voice low and steady. The night continued around them, their bond growing stronger in quiet moments of shared understanding and unspoken affection. Jade's dorm was dimly lit, the soft flicker of a paused fantasy action movie casting a faint glow across the room. Her laptop screen showed the frozen image of a dragon mid-flight, its wings outstretched against a fiery backdrop. The hum of quiet tension filled the air, mingling with the muted rhythm of slow, romantic music playing in the background. Jade stood near the bed in her crimson lingerie while Elias was putting on his boxers, Jade's arms crossed and a teasing smile playing on her lips. 30 minutes into a movie, and here we are, she quipped, her tone light but laced with mischief. Elias, standing opposite her, chuckled softly. To be fair, that dragon scene was intense. I mean, who wouldn't want to celebrate by celebrating? Jade interrupted, arching a brow. That's your excuse? He laughed again, a deep, warm sound that seemed to fill the room. You're right. The excuse is you couldn't keep your hands off me. Oh, please. Jade retorted, rolling her eyes but unable to suppress a grin. You're the one who said, do you ever feel this insane connection? Elias rubbed the back of his neck, looking sheepish. Okay, maybe that was me. But in my defense, you're a hopeless romantic with zero self-control? Jade finished for him, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Guilty, he admitted with a wink. Jade took a step closer to him, her playful demeanor softening. Her gaze dropped to the floor, and her voice grew quieter. I'm serious, though, she said, her tone tinged with vulnerability. Elias tilted his head, watching her intently. What's on your mind? This whole horror show mystery thing. Jade hesitated, wrapping her arms around herself as if to ward off an invisible chill. It scares me. What if something happens to us? To our friends? Jade. Elias's voice was soft as he closed the distance between them, pulling her into a comforting embrace. His arms wrapped around her, strong and steady, anchoring her in the moment. For a brief second, she allowed herself to lean into him, the weight of her fears easing. The steady beat of his heart against her ear was a quiet reassurance that they were still here, together. Pulling back slightly, Elias cupped her shoulders, his eyes searching hers. "Nothing's going to happen to you." "To us," he promised, his voice firm. "We're going to figure this out. Together." Jade sighed, her lips curving into a faint, almost wistful smile. "You'd better mean that," she warned lightly. "Otherwise, I'm haunting you as a ghost." Elias laughed, the sound breaking through the tension like sunlight after a storm. "Can't say I'd mind. You'd be the hottest ghost ever." "Smooth," she replied, a giggle escaping despite herself. "But seriously, thanks, Elias." "Anytime," he said, his tone softer now. A familiar playful glint returned to his eyes as he added, "Now where were we?" Jade smirked, cocking her head. "Something about you being a hopeless romantic? And you being irresistibly charming," he shot back without missing a beat. Laughter bubbled up between them, the heavy atmosphere dissolving into the lightness of their banter. For a brief moment, the chaos outside their door seemed distant, their world reduced to the shared warmth and unspoken connection they found in each other. As the night stretched on, their conversation ebbed and flowed, playful quips giving way to quiet, meaningful exchanges. Despite the uncertainties ahead, they found solace in the moment, their bond growing stronger with each passing second. The next day, the overcast sky cast a somber hue over the campus quad, where Mallory stood with her friends. The air was heavy, a sense of unease lingering after recent events. Mallory adjusted her jacket as she addressed the group, her tone firm yet reassuring. "All right, we have our tasks," she began. "Asher and I will talk to the history professor. She might know something about the book's origins. Harper and Elias, check out the library archives. Look for anything on ancient runes or artifacts. Jade and Lachlan, ask around. See if anyone's noticed anything unusual near the hidden place." Harper rolled her eyes, crossing her arms. "Great. I get the dusty books," she muttered, her sarcasm cutting through the tension. Jade shifted uneasily, her expression betraying her anxiety. What if we find something dangerous?" she asked, her voice wavering. Mallory placed a reassuring hand on Jade's shoulder. "Then we deal with it," she said firmly. "Together." Her gaze swept over the group. "And if you need help, call. None of us are doing this alone." The group nodded in agreement, though the tension remained palpable. Meanwhile, Lachlan stood with his arms crossed, his eyes darting around as if searching for hidden dangers. Elias leaned casually against a bench, his usual smirk playing on his lips, while Asher remained quiet, his sharp eyes observing the scene. Lachlan spoke first, echoing Mallory's sentiment. "Then we deal with it. Together," he said, his voice steady. Elias smirked, unable to resist a jab. "And I get stuck with Harper? Lucky me." Asher raised an eyebrow, his tone dry. "Sounds like you can focus more instead of flirting with Jade." Elias shot him a mock glare, his arms crossing defensively. That evening, the dim light of the campus library added a sense of gravity to Harper and Elias's task. The air smelled of aged paper, and the muffled rustle of pages turning was the only sound apart from their footsteps. Harper scanned the shelves, running her fingers over spines labeled with obscure titles. "Okay, ancient runes. Where do we even start?" she mused aloud. Elias, standing nearby, quipped, "Try the section labeled Weird Stuff." Harper let out a short laugh, her lips twitching into a reluctant smile. "Oh, you're a comedian now?" She pulled a dusty book from a high shelf, coughing as a faint cloud of dust rose from its pages. "Found something," she said, holding up the tome. "Myths and Mysteries of the Unknown." Elias stepped closer, peering over her shoulder. Let me see, he said, his voice tinged with curiosity. Harper opened the book, flipping through the fragile pages. Think this will help? She asked doubtfully. Elias shrugged. Only one way to find out. As they delved into the book, the air grew heavier, the weight of their discoveries yet to come pressing down on them. The afternoon light filtered through the high windows of Professor Rivera's office, casting warm golden hues over the rows of bookshelves crammed with ancient tomes and artifacts. Mallory and Asher stood by her desk, their postures tense as the professor flipped through an open book with a calm yet curious expression. A book with runes, you say? Professor Rivera asked, her voice laced with intrigue. She adjusted her glasses and glanced at them over the rim. And it vanished into thin air? Mallory crossed her arms, her tone steady as she explained. Yes. It transported us somewhere otherworldly. We think it holds answers, but now it's gone. Asher, standing beside her, added with a note of unease. Someone might have taken it, Professor. We don't know who or why. Professor Rivera closed the book and set it aside, her thoughtful expression growing serious. Ancient rune books aren't just relics of the past, she began, leaning back in her chair. They're gateways, crafted to bridge this world with others. In the wrong hands, they could unlock power or bring chaos. As a professor of history and paleontology, I was drawn to this university for its urban legend. But with all these paranormal activities occurring recently, it's a surprise the university dean hasn't intervened. Please be careful. Mallory shivered despite the warmth of the room. Do you know how we can find it? Before someone uses it for chaos. Rivera frowned, her gaze sharp and calculating. That's the challenge. The book is likely tied to you both now, through the connection you made when you opened it. Trust your instincts and each other. She paused, studying them carefully. But if your instincts fail, the book might already be beyond reach. Mallory's stomach sank at the implication. We can't let that happen, she said, her voice trembling with determination. Asher placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We won't. We'll find it. Rivera gave them a small nod, though her worry was evident. Be careful. If someone took it, they might be watching you. Stay vigilant. The weight of her warnings settled heavily on them as they left the office, exchanging a glance. Determination burned in Mallory's eyes, mirrored by Asher's quiet resolve. The hum of quiet conversation and soft upbeat music filled the campus bar, a welcome respite from the day's tension. Jade sat at a high table, nursing a drink, her shoulders slumped with exhaustion. Lachlan leaned against the edge of the table, his arms crossed, watching her with an amused smirk. No one's seen anything strange, Jade said, breaking the silence. It's like the whole place is cursed. Lachlan raised an eyebrow, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Oh good. Curses. That's exactly what we needed to add to our problems. Jade huffed a quiet laugh but quickly sobered. Lachlan, do you think we're in over our heads? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Lachlan uncrossed his arms and leaned closer, his tone softening. Probably, he admitted. But I know one thing, we're stronger together. Jade looked up at him, a faint smile breaking through her worried expression. Thanks for saying that, she murmured. It's comforting. They sat in companionable silence for a moment, the din of the bar fading into the background. Despite the weight of the mystery hanging over them, the moment felt like a brief reprieve, a reminder that, no matter what lay ahead, they wouldn't face it alone. The library was eerily silent, its dim lighting casting long shadows across the rows of dusty bookshelves. Harper and Elias sat at a heavy wooden table, their attention fixed on the ancient tomes before them. Harper absently turned a page in her book, but her gaze kept darting toward the shadowy corners of the room. This whole thing feels wrong, Harper said, her voice barely above a whisper. Like someone's watching us. Elias didn't look up, his tone flat as he replied, "Maybe it's just the creepy librarian ghost." Harper laughed nervously, the sound echoing faintly in the stillness. "Oh great. That's all we needed." Suddenly, a faint gust of wind swirled through the room, carrying with it a fine cloud of dust. The particles glimmered momentarily in the air, before fading into the gloom. Harper froze, her heart hammering in her chest. "Did you see that?" she asked, her voice trembling. Elias glanced around, his brow furrowing. "Stay calm," he said, though his own unease was evident. The dust cloud dissipated, leaving an unsettling silence in its wake. Harper's hands tightened on the edge of the table. "Whatever that was," she said softly, "it doesn't want us investigating." Elias stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "Let's get out of here." Now. Without another word, they grabbed their belongings and hurried out of the library, the oppressive atmosphere following them like a shadow. The campus quad was quiet, the warm glow of streetlights illuminating the paths. Harper and Elias joined the others near a bench under a large oak tree. Lachlan stood with his arms crossed, his expression serious. Jade paced nearby, her face pale with worry. Harper broke the tense silence. "Elias and I saw something. A shadow. It disappeared, but it felt sinister." Jade stopped pacing, her eyes widening. "I knew it. We're being watched." Lachlan nodded grimly. "Agreed. But we're not giving up." Elias took a deep breath, trying to project calm. "Whatever's going on, we'll figure it out. Together." "So we're back to square one," Mallory said, her voice tinged with frustration. Asher placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Not necessarily. Every clue counts, even the small ones." Mallory crossed her arms, her resolve hardening. "Then we keep going." Lachlan glanced around the group, a flicker of hope in his eyes. "We'll piece it all together, one way or another." Harper shivered, wrapping her arms around herself. "Let's just hope we don't run out of time." The group exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of the unknown pressing heavily upon them. The abandoned church loomed at the edge of town, its silhouette jagged against the pale gray sky. The next day had brought a strange heaviness in the air, the kind that prickled the skin and whispered of unknown dangers. Guided by Harper's dreams, the group stood at its threshold, each grappling with unease. "This is it," Harper murmured, her voice barely audible over the faint whistle of the wind. She shivered despite the warm layers she wore. "I swear I saw this place in my dreams." Elias cast her a skeptical glance, his lips quirking in a half-smile. "Great. So now we're chasing haunted dreams. Totally normal." Lachlan crossed his arms, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "That's pretty much our thing now, isn't it?" Asher, ever the voice of reason, shifted his weight. "If Harper thinks this is important, there's a reason we're here. Let's trust her." The group moved cautiously inside. Dusty pews stretched across the room, their once polished wood now dull and chipped. Shattered windows let in thin rays of light, and the faintest whisper of wind carried through the hollowed space, like the remnants of forgotten prayers. Mallory hugged her arms close to her chest, glancing around nervously. "I have a bad feeling about this," she muttered. "Me too," Harper admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Jade stepped closer to them, her gaze darting to every shadowed corner. "Stay together. No splitting up," she warned, her voice steady despite the tension in her eyes. Asher examined the walls, noting the intricate carvings etched into the stone. "This place has a strange energy," he said thoughtfully. "We'll figure this out," Lachlan reassured, clapping him on the shoulder. "Together." Elias, however, was less convinced. He paced near the altar, his every step echoing in the quiet space. From the far end of the room, Harper gasped. "These symbols, they're the same as the ones from the book." Asher's head snapped toward her. Could this be where the book was taken? Before anyone could answer, a sudden flash of light flooded the room, casting harsh shadows across the walls. When the light faded, a figure emerged near the altar, a shadowy silhouette cloaked in mystery. "You should not have returned here," the figure intoned, its voice deep and resonant, sending shivers down their spines. Harper took a trembling step forward, her courage wavering. "Who are you?" The figure tilted its head, as though weighing its response. "A guardian. And you are meddling in forces beyond your understanding." Mallory stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "We don't want trouble. We just need answers." The guardian's tone darkened, laden with warning. "Then you should leave, before you bring ruin to this world."